Welcome to welcome and good morning. April 2nd, 2020. Fourth grade math page 243 to 44. Mrs. Kurien's class. Let's look. We are studying compare and order fractions. Names for. Now it's important to see this whole picture. The number of parts selected is the same as the part of a whole. So again, names for one whole is the number of parts selected. Selected means the numerator is the same as the parts of the whole, the denominator. So numerator and denominator are same. That means 1 is equal to 2 over 2 or 3 over 3. Or 4 over 4, or 5 over 5, or 6 over 6, 7 over 7, 8 over 8, 9 over 9, or 10 over 10. So when all the selected parts and the parts are present, meaning numerator and denominator are same, that means you have a whole. Names, now we move on to names of half. The number of parts selected, that means the numerator. The number of parts in the whole, denominator. So 1 half, I think I put the wrong number. It should be half over here. I need to erase that and put 2. Okay, let me close the lid. Boys and girls, I hope you're understanding. Half, another way to say half is equal to 2/4 or 3/6, 4/8, 5/10, 6/12, 7/14. That means half of the whole pizza or half of the whole set is missing. So this is equal to 1/2 is equal to 2/4, 3/6, 4/8, 5/10, 6 over 12, 7 over 14. Also, they could be said as the half is the lowest term. Later on, I will tell you how it is. But let's move on. What do you notice? I need to read that from my book. What do you notice about all the fractional names for 1? Again, what do you notice about all the fractional names for 1? Example. Now, if you had a question 1-7 over 8, that means now you're comparing fractions. How do you compare 1 whole to 7/8? I can think the fractional name for 1 in eighths, because 8 is the part of the whole. How many eighths equal 1 whole? 8, because that is the bottom denominator number. So if that is comparing 1 whole to 7/8, that means it is 7/8 is smaller because it's missing one number. 8 minus 7 is 1, so that means it's missing 1. So 1 is bigger than 7/8. Now go on to another example. 1-6/4. How do you compare 1 whole to 6/4? I can think of the fractional names for 1 whole is 4th. The bottom number, the denominator, is how many parts it's divided. How many fourths equal 1 whole? 4 or fourths. How do you complete the number sentence? That means 6 is bigger than 4. So 1 is greater than 6 over 4. No, it's not 1 is bigger. 6/4 is bigger than 1. erase the former question. We will be putting that, erase this thing. So improper sentence, this is an improper sentence because 1 is not greater than 6/4. 6/4 is greater than 1. Do you understand that? So that was purposely being put there to make you realize if something is divided into 4 parts and 6 is the numerator, that means it's bigger than whole. That means it's an improper sentence. It should be the other way. 6/4 is bigger than 1. Okay, so I have to put that. 6/4 is bigger than 1. Let's look at the improper fractions. Improper fractions are equal to or greater than 1. So 1 is smaller than 9/7. 1 is bigger than 6/9, or we can say 1 is greater than 9/7. What did I say? 9/7 is greater than 1. 1 is greater than 6/9. Look at another example. 1 equals 5/5, or 1 is greater than 1/3. So improper fractions are equal to 1 or greater than 1. Let's go on to look at another example of 1 bigger than n/6. Now you see n is a letter. N is a variable, represents an unknown number. What is an unknown number? Unknown number is a numerator of the fraction. What is the name of the parts for this fraction? What does a denominator of 6 mean? That one whole is divided into 6th. So what do you think n above the 6 is in this? The fraction represents an unknown numerator or a number of selected parts. So for one whole, 6/6, because the question is 1 greater than n/6, or the unknown number greater than 6, you could take any number greater than 6. So you could take 1 is smaller than 7/6, 1 is smaller or lesser than 8/6, or 1 is lesser than 9/6. That means 6 is the parts it's divided into. And because the symbol of compare is showing greater on the fractional side, you have to take a number that is bigger than 6. It could be 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. And that will make the variable fraction. Means it could vary. It could be 7 or it could be 8 or 9, whatever you choose to write. That's why it's called variable and unknown number. Example, 1 is lesser than n/5, 1 is greater than n/3, and 1 is greater than n/10, or 1 is lesser than n/10, and 1 is equal to n/7. So what will be the answer for this? 1 is lesser than n/5. That means it could be 6/5 or 7/5. And if 1 is greater than n/3, that means the n should be 2, or the unknown number could be 2, because it has to be smaller than the denominator. And if 1 is lesser than n over 10, then n could be 11 over 10 or 12 over 10. And if it's 1 is equal to n over 7, then that n is equal to 7 over 7. Okay, boys and girls, you have to be slowly understand the concept. It's not very difficult. It is the denominator and the numerator has to be chosen correctly. Okay, now we're going on to determine fractions are less than. Determine whether a fraction is less than or greater than or equal to half. Let's look at this bar. It's one whole, right? Now half a bar, I made the bar half. Now that one shows half a bar. How many fourth equals half? How many in that half a bar, how many would you have to divide to make it into one whole? That would be half equal fourth. So what is the missing number or the question mark? What is the numerator or the selected part? So you can see half is 2. To make fourth, you have to divide the half into 2 more parts. So 2 times 2 would be 4. And or look at the big bar over there, you have to divide into 4 equal parts. So half of 4 will be 2. So half is equal to 2/4. And that 2/4 will be later on, you will see, I will explain what it is called. So pay attention. And also I gave you a little box with a half showing. How many 6 are equal to one whole? Now if I have to divide that big bar, one whole, into 6 parts, then half of the bar will have three sections. So right, if I put blank is equal to 3/6, so what is that? The half is equal to 3/6 because it's 3 parts out of the 6. Another name for these fractions are called equivalent fractions. And that 3 dot means because they represent same parts of a whole. So they represent same part of a whole, means there were 6 parts of the whole, but only 3 are present. And that is equivalent. Half, now it's half can be equal to 2/4, and half can also be equal to 3/6. Half can also be equivalent to 4/8, and half can also be equivalent to 5/10. And very important over here, if you see, 2 is half of 4, 3 is half of 6, 6 is half of 12, 5 is half of 10, and so on. And there is some more that we need to eat. If it is, what is half? 10 is half of 20. 20 is half of 40. We can go on, and there is some few more instructions. And remember, improper fractions are equal to 1 or greater than 1. What fractional parts can make another name for 1/2? Which fractional parts cannot? So if you have a third or fifth or seventh or ninth,